What is up, everybody? My name's Josh. I'm the fantasy football buff, and tonight I'm going to be breaking down 5 reasons for why Jonathan Taylor is the ultimate buy low in all Dynasty leagues right now. So without further ado, let's get it. Guys, stick around to the end of the video where I'll be breaking down the Dynasty team of one of my followers, giving him advice moving forward. And if you're interested for me to break down one of your Dynasty teams, follow me at fantasy.football.buff on Instagram, DM me screenshots of your team, and I'll break down what I think you should do to make your Dynasty team dominant. So right now, the world is freaking out about Jonathan Taylor, and many people up to this point are even calling him a bust. And I'm not going to sit here and say that their worries aren't completely undeniable, right? Through 9 weeks, he is the RB19 in fantasy football. That is below what he was expected to do. Over the past 2 weeks, since their bye week, Jonathan Taylor has averaged 32% of the snaps and only gotten 8.5 carries. Meanwhile, Jordan Wilkins is averaging 42% of the snaps and 15.5 carries per game. That is a serious difference. I understand the worries and I understand the genuine concern, and in redraft leagues, it's kind of up in the air right now. But from a dynasty perspective, I'm going to break down 5 reasons for why you should be buying Jonathan Taylor and not scared off of him. And reason number 1 is physical ability. The man is only 21 years old and is a freak athlete. Coming into the NFL, he was compared to players like Saquon and Ezekiel Elliott, who are absolute beasts. He blew it up at the combine. He ran a 4.39 40 time, which is in the 98th percentile. His speed score was 121.7, which was in the 99th percentile. The man is a generational talent, and we cannot overlook that fact. Reason number 2 is his involvement in the pass game. Coming into this season, people weren't expecting him to see a lot of targets, and it's not like his target volume right now is crazy. He has seen 21 targets on the season so far. That's an average of 2.6, so it's not crazy volume, but it's what he's doing with the ball that is impressive. He has a 90% catch rate, right? He's averaging 8.9 yards per reception, which is 4th best in the league amongst running backs. Once they get the ball in his hands, he is tearing it up. Reason number 3 is the offensive struggles as a whole from the Indianapolis Colts. Their O-line is struggling. They're underperforming. They're ranked 25th right now by Football Outsiders in run blocking. Right? All 3 of their starting wide receivers between Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman Jr., and T.Y. Hilton are all injured, right? And there is absolutely no respect from the defense, from opposing defenses on Phillip Rivers, right? They're not afraid about the wide receiving weapons. They're not afraid of Rivers. And because of that, they're stacking the box against Taylor. Taylor is seeing an average of 7.3 defenders in the box. That's 3rd most in the league amongst running backs. So this explains a little bit why. I mean, if the O-line's not performing and he's seeing so many players in the box, it's explaining why he isn't as efficient on the ground as we're expecting. And it's also explaining why he's doing so well through the air, right? Because players aren't expecting him to bounce out and catch the ball. The 4th reason to buy Taylor right now is because of his schedule moving forward. Throughout the rest of the year, Taylor has one of the easiest running back schedules moving forward throughout the rest of the year. The man plays the Raiders, the Packers, and then he gets to play the Texans twice. All of them are bottom tier run defenses that Jonathan Taylor should eat. The 5th and most important reason for why Jonathan Taylor is currently a buy in Dynasty formats is the situation as a whole. Right, guys, if I can give one piece of advice to make your Dynasty team dominant, is patience. Relax, guys. A couple months ago, Jonathan Taylor was a top 5 ranked Dynasty running back. And now, after a couple bad weeks, people are dubbing his career as a total bust. Let's look back at his college production. His 3 years at Wisconsin, the man never had under 1,900 rushing yards. Then he comes up, blows up the combine, right? He comes into the NFL. The Colts draft Michael Pittman Jr. at the very beginning of the second round, and then they trade their second and fifth round pick to move up only 3 spots in the second round to draft Jonathan Taylor. He was important to them. They wanted him on their team. Now, Marlon Mack gets injured. He tears his ACL, and the fantasy community freaks out. Everyone's excited. All the analysts are saying how Jonathan Taylor is a locked and loaded top 5 fantasy running back for the rest of the season, and the expectations were just insanely high. Right now, because of COVID, there were no training camps, right? And Jonathan Taylor didn't have a chance to learn the offense. He didn't have a chance to build chemistry with Phillip Rivers and with his amazing offensive line in front of him. One of the biggest criticisms of Jonathan Taylor up to this point is his visibility. He's on the field at the beginning of the season, he was getting a lot of work and didn't look good. Everyone has seen this play that I'm about to show you. In week 3 against the Jets, Jonathan Taylor gets the ball, lowers his head, and runs it directly into his offensive lineman when there's a gaping hole, one gap over that you could drive a semi-truck through, and the man just doesn't see it. Right, his visibility is something that's being highly criticized, but you can see an improvement. Here is a clip 2 weeks later against the Browns. As you can see, it's 3rd and 5, and the left tackle misses the linebacker who is crashing down on Jonathan Taylor. Now in week 3, had he done the same thing where he just lowered his head, the play would have been over and they would have had to punt. But instead, he sees that his right tackle does an excellent job at containing, and he cuts out to his right. He knows he only needs 5 yards. He sees the gap that's an excellent down the field block by his center and his right guard. He sees a tiny gap in between him, and he has the leg strength and the visibility to push through and get that first down that his team needs. Right? I'm not saying that he is some star NFL IQ now. I'm just saying that he's improving. Visibility is something that is taught, something that you learn. In college, he was reliant on his speed and his physical ability, but now in the NFL, everyone's just as fast and just as strong as he is in a lot of different ways. And so as he continues to develop, as he gets more experience and less nerves on the field, because he didn't have training camp to gain that, he will just continue to improve moving forward. The reality is Jonathan Taylor is the ultimate buy low right now in Dynasty leagues, right? He's a freak prospect who is so young, he was only legally allowed to drink 6 months ago, right? Stop looking at exclusively the stat sheets. Look at the offense and the situation as a whole. And once you put all this into consideration, you'll realize that his value is the lowest it might ever be in his career. He's a top 20 fantasy running back as a rookie getting minimal work, right? Buy him now because he can only go up from where he's at currently. Guys, words are words, and I understand it's really easy to jump on a YouTube channel and give people empty fantasy football advice, but I'm someone who puts my money where my mouth is. Here's my coveted big money Dynasty league that I honestly sometimes take more seriously than my actual full-time job. Right, I recently acquired Jonathan Taylor because I'm so optimistic about his future, and I was shallow at running back. Right, it's a 2-quarterback league with 3 flex spots, so every position really counts. I made this trade recently where it was Terry McLaurin, who in my opinion is a top 8 Dynasty wide receiver, and Curtis Samuel for Jonathan Taylor and Hollywood Brown. Now I need to preface, I'm not that big of a Hollywood Brown fan. So you have to understand how optimistic I am for Jonathan Taylor. Despite him being called a bust, Jonathan Taylor is still a top 10 Dynasty running back for me. You could make the argument for me top 8, right? And I would take him over the older Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, and Aaron Jones because I believe his future is just that bright. So go and make some low ball trade offers for Jonathan Taylor, especially this upcoming week when he's prime time against a very exploitable Titans run defense. And if you're the Jonathan Taylor owner in your league, hold tight. Don't sell him as low as he is. He has everything going for him for things to improve down the road. All right, now I'm going to analyze one of my followers' Dynasty teams and give him a little bit of advice of what he should do moving forward. Now, here's his team for my guy Julian. It is a Superflex PPR 10-man league, and looking at it on face value, his team's pretty solid. I really like his wide receivers between CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins, DJ Moore, Will Fuller. He has excellent youth at his wide receiver position. I like Mark Andrews' future. Dalvin Cook, he has as his running back, and he's actually currently in the middle of a trade to acquire Derrick Henry. So he's going to have some solid running backs as well. Now, what's really interesting, I guess the biggest criticism from my part is just the fact that he only has one quarterback on his roster, and it's Teddy Bridgewater. In a Dynasty Superflex league, like, you need multiple young quarterbacks, in my opinion, to really succeed. But after talking to Julian, he broke down to me that he really is looking towards the future, right? Strategically speaking, he realized that a lot of the players in his league just simply aren't interested in future picks. Rather, they wanted known commodities. And my guy took advantage. Let's look at all the different future picks he currently has. All right, the man has, for 2021, he has 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks. In 2022, he has 5 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks. So the man is locking down these future drafts, and if he pulls it off correctly, where he gets a young top-tier quarterback, a couple of young running backs or wide receivers through all these picks, in 2022, his team could be absolutely nasty. And he came to me with a couple questions because he just acquired Derrick Henry. He's looking to the future, and he got 2 trade offers for his newly acquired Derrick Henry. Trade offer number 1, they offered him Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Travis Fulgham, and Baker Mayfield for Henry and a second. That was trade number 1. Trade number 2 is James Robinson, Marquise Hollywood Brown, and Derek Carr for just Henry. Now, this is a tough situation, and if I was in Julian's shoes and I'm sitting here looking at these different offers, I got to think about the future, right? Derrick Henry, he's 26 years old, right? And if you're shooting for 2021 after you make all these picks, 2022, there's no guarantee that Henry is going to be healthy or he's going to continue to get the workload that he is despite his contract. Getting all those carries wears on a running back. So I'm not saying he's going to be retired in 2 years. I'm just saying that he might not be getting the workload and be as dominant as he currently is. So I would be looking to sell Henry in this situation. And out of the 2 options here, I'm going to go for option number 1. I'll take Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'll take Travis Fulgham, and I'll take Baker Mayfield for Henry and as a second. Guy, you have so many second-round picks. Losing one is not going to destroy your team. And I'm really optimistic about Clyde Edwards-Helaire's future. Clyde, you're looking toward the future regardless, and Clyde is currently ranked as a top 6 fantasy running back because of the offense he plays in. Now, I understand the concerns of Le'Veon Bell, but Le'Veon Bell, he's 28 years old and currently on a 1-year contract. Even if he does sign another 1-year contract next season, he's not going to get a crazy amount of work, at least in my opinion, and CEH will still be usable. Then 2022, after you make your 2 million first-round picks, Clyde will be dominant. He'll be 3 years into his career, even more experienced, and had a chance to learn under one of the best running backs in league history, arguably, in Le'Veon Bell. Meanwhile, I love Travis Fulgham. He came out of nowhere. People still don't really know the name, but he's being dominant right now. He is, between weeks 4 through 8, in fantasy, he was the wide receiver 1. So he's definitely a player I'm looking to acquire. He looks great on the field. And Baker Mayfield is questionable. I'm not super optimistic about his future, but you need another quarterback on your team. I like that you're going to draft a younger one down the road, but you need that depth for bye weeks for your super flex position. It's just going to give you an edge, even for an inconsistent younger quarterback like Baker Mayfield. Julian, I hope that made any sense. I like your team a lot, and I do think there's a lot of optimism for the future. If you have any other questions, feel free to DM me, and we'll keep talking about your team. All right, guys, that's the video. Go out, buy Jonathan Taylor, and you'll be thanking me in a year from now when he's a top 10 to top 5 fantasy football running back in real time. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, like down below, and let me know in the comments if I'm absolutely wrong and if Jonathan Taylor's a bust. And if you want me to analyze your Dynasty team and give some in-depth Dynasty advice, then go follow me on Instagram at fantasy.football.buff. DM me screenshots of your team and I'll include them in the next video. I appreciate you all, and we'll see you next time. Peace.